Welcome to the StockMentor.com studios. I'm your stock mentor, Brian Johnson, and the market's tearing it up today. Well, to the right side of the screen. I mean, it just went straight right. It didn't go up or down. No trading today as the market's consolidated. No news, no whatever made any difference whatsoever. However, let's look at it and see if we can glean anything from the market action today. First of all, the obviously the volume was little to nothing. It was very, very, very small today in this consolidation. Not unlike, not uncommon to see that when things are just kind of moving sideways like this. Would be expected. No real side winning either way, up or down. Very tough trading if you were day trading the indices today for any reason. However, bigger picture, let's look at the 1, 2, 3 that we've been following. This little three wave up here. Now we're consolidating sideways. Remember I talked about possibly a pullback that could be 4 of 3 and then we have 5 of 3 to the upside. This might be wave 4 right here. So is this wave 4 before 5 up? Is it wave 4 of 3? Who knows? It's still a little bit early to tell for all you Elliotticians out there. However, this consolidation usually points towards some sort of a wave 4 type action. That's very common to see this. So I'm watching this and just believing that it is what it is, and that is a high base at this point on a 60-minute scale. Daily gives us a little bit different view, but the 60-minute gives us this as a high base formation. So I'm still looking for plays over 10,400 or plays below 10,300 for your trades. That gives you a pretty tight range for the most part to play with in the Dow for your trades. So below 10,300, below or above 10,400 for your day trades. We are coming into end of week, Thursday, Friday. Should see some movement here over the next couple of days. If we don't, then it's really coiling up for a much larger move. Dow on a daily, this is it. This is holding below the 200-day moving average. And I mentioned this should be very tough overhead resistance to get through. And it is proving so far for the last 2 days to be tough resistance to get through. Potential topping pattern up here, so we'll have to wait for confirmation. I'm not convinced yet that this means anything, but I am absolutely looking at it. It's a good candle in the right place. How about that? And we'll leave it at that. Still looking for confirmation, but I still like moves above 10,400 to the upside, and I like moves below 10,300 to the downside. Watch closely though if you're swing trading this, just because we have 10,250 as the 50-day moving average. And we have some pretty staunch overhead resistance right here once we get above 10,400. So that's maybe 10,450. So if you're going to take trades, look more at the intraday standpoint, and you're probably going to want to be quick to take profits, especially on the Dow side. Let's see if we get another day of consolidation and put in a daily high base to match what we're seeing on the 60-minute. NDX on a 60-minute also doing that same thing. Here's that little pump to the upside. Run, stopping right here at about the 1850 mark. So we had some very good overhead resistance between 1830 and 1840 if you took into consideration what we were seeing on the daily. We're now above that, but hanging right around in this area. So any further runs to the upside, I think, put us back into 1870-ish area. But my short wouldn't be on the NASDAQ till we really saw something below the 1830 mark. And I should say the NDX. It's not necessarily the NASDAQ. The NASDAQ would be the CompQ. I don't cover that a lot in my videos. But because I like to follow the NASDAQ 100, I like to know what the strongest stocks in the NASDAQ are doing for a lot of my trading. But from a NASDAQ standpoint, you can see here that anything back below about 1830 on the NDX, I think, gives you a good shorting opportunity there. Here it is on the daily, and you can see it being held up by the 50-day moving average. I mentioned this should be tough overhead resistance. Now, the fact that we're still hanging around up here at that point, we actually closed above it. If you want to get real splitting hairs here, but you have to look at it for what it is, and that is the bears are, I know, going to want to hold this 50 coming into the end of the week. They're going to want to. The problem is they've got now a bunch of support to get back through on the way back down. So bears haven't typically had a problem slicing through support as we've seen from previous action. However, we have to respect the fact that now the 20 and the 200 are back below price action on the NDX. So keep that in mind as we come to the end of the week. The bears are going to want to hold that, especially from a weekly standpoint. They're not going to want them to reach this 1900 area anytime too soon, if at all possible. So we'll see if they can bring that back down here coming into the end of the week. SPX 60-minute also doing the whole sideways chippy choppy thing, holding at or around the 1095-ish area. 1100 being that overhead resistance area that I talked about. Today's high was 1099.08. Yesterday's was like 1099.46 or something. So I like 1100. Still acting as strong overhead resistance, but a break of that, I think you're pretty safe up to at least the 1110 area on the SPX. I'll be watching that closely. Otherwise, for sure, it's maybe back below 1080, somewhere down in this area, before you start looking at a short position. From a daily standpoint, holding right at on above the 50-day moving average. So everything's starting to get back to and test its 50-day moving averages. Those have been pretty good in the past as support and resistance. Let's see if it actually holds here. We are just above it by about a point or so. I'm not going to read too much into that because I always give the bears at least a day or two to kind of pull that back down. Just as I give the bulls respect, I give the bears the same respect. This is a potential topping candle. We'll see if we get any confirmation on it tomorrow from a weekly standpoint. Holding below, what is it? Yeah, 50-week moving average. That is at 1095.91. We're at 1095.17, lending confirmation to the fact that 1100 and this 1095 area, all very, very staunch overhead resistance for the SPX. So we're going to be watching this closely coming into the end of the week, because the bears are certainly going to want to try to hold this moving average, if at all possible, coming into these last couple days of trading. If you are a bear, you don't necessarily want to see a sideways move in the next couple days. That would tend to lend its hand more towards the bull side than it would the bear side. VIX on a daily was